The stainless steel water bowl hit the concrete with a sharp clang. Atlas, a retired Marine K-9 with years of service beside Colton Vance, staggered backward instead of drinking. The powerful German shepherd, normally alert and fearless, lowered his head, whimpered, and collapsed onto the front porch. Atlas! Colton sprinted across the yard, dropping the toolbox he'd been carrying. He knelt beside his partner, placing one hand on the dog's chest while checking his breathing. Atlas was alive, but something was terribly wrong. As Colton reached for his phone to call the emergency veterinarian, a tiny blinking light beneath the porch roof caught his eye. The hidden security camera. He had almost forgotten it was there. If it had recorded what happened over the last few hours, someone in the neighborhood was about to have nowhere left to hide. If you enjoy stories where courage defeats corruption and justice always wins, subscribe and let's begin. 3 months earlier, the moving truck rolled slowly into Ashwood Ridge, an upscale neighborhood outside Bozeman, Montana. For Colton Vance, retirement from the United States Marine Corps meant something simple: peace. After nearly 20 years of deployments, he wanted a quiet home where he and Atlas could finally live without constant danger. Atlas wasn't just a dog. He had detected explosives, protected Marines during patrols, and once pulled Colton from the wreckage of an armored vehicle after an ambush overseas. Even in retirement, Atlas remained calm, disciplined, and deeply loyal. Within days, neighborhood children adored him. Parents smiled as Atlas patiently accepted gentle pats and happily performed simple commands. Everything seemed perfect. Everything except one person. HOA President Miranda Blackthorne. She first approached Colton on his second morning. "I'm Miranda Blackthorne," she said with a polished smile. "President of the Homeowners Association." Colton extended a hand. "Nice to meet you." Her eyes drifted immediately toward Atlas. Large dogs make some residents uncomfortable. "He's a retired military working dog," Colton replied calmly. "Fully trained. I'll be watching to ensure every HOA rule is followed." She turned and walked away without another word. Colton had dealt with far worse personalities during his military career. He thought little of it. He was wrong. A week later, a violation notice appeared on his front door. "Dog intimidating pedestrians." There were no dates, no photographs, no witness statements, just a fine. Colton requested evidence. None arrived. Instead, another violation appeared. Excessive barking. Atlas barely barked at all. Then came another. Unauthorized animal equipment visible from the street. The so-called equipment was Atlas's military water station. Each complaint felt more personal than the last. Across the street, Naomi Kessler quietly watched the situation unfold. One afternoon, she crossed the road carrying homemade cookies. "I've lived here 14 years, she said softly. "I've never seen your dog do anything wrong." Colton smiled. "Thank you." Naomi hesitated before speaking again. "You didn't hear this from me." "What is it?" "I've seen Miranda walking through your yard after dark." Colton frowned. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "Twice." That answer lingered in his mind for days. Soon, strange incidents began piling up. Atlas's water bowl was moved. His training toys disappeared. The backyard gate was mysteriously left open. Nothing was stolen. Nothing expensive was damaged. It felt deliberate, calculated, designed to make Colton doubt himself. After replacing the water bowl for the third time in 1 week, he made a decision. He installed 2 small security cameras. One overlooked the driveway. The second, barely visible beneath the porch roof, pointed directly toward Atlas's water station. He told no one, not even Naomi. For nearly 2 weeks, nothing happened. Then one quiet Tuesday afternoon, while Colton volunteered at a local veteran center, motion alerts silently appeared on his phone. He didn't notice them until hours later. By then, Atlas was lying on the porch, struggling to stand, and the hidden camera had captured every second leading up to that terrifying moment. Colton didn't waste a second. He gently lifted Atlas into the back of his pickup and sped toward the nearest emergency veterinary hospital. Every few moments he glanced in the rearview mirror. The German shepherd was breathing, but his eyes were unfocused and his normally alert posture had disappeared. "Stay with me, buddy," Colton whispered. "You've got me home before. Now it's my turn." At Rowan Veterinary Emergency Center, Dr. Isabel Rowan met them at the entrance with her medical team. "We'll take him immediately." Colton could only nod as Atlas disappeared through the treatment doors. The next 40 minutes felt longer than any mission he'd experienced overseas. Finally, Dr. Rowan returned. "He's stable," she said. "Whatever he ingested caused severe gastrointestinal distress and dehydration. Fortunately, you brought him in quickly." "What did he get into?" We're running laboratory tests, but I don't believe this happened by accident. Colton's expression hardened. What do you mean? We found traces of a household cleaning chemical mixed with the water from the bowl you brought us. In small amounts, it can make an animal seriously ill. It wasn't enough to be fatal, but should never have been there. Colton's heart sank. Someone hadn't just harassed Atlas. Someone had tampered with his water. Driving home that evening, only one thought echoed through his mind. The camera. He walked directly to his office, removed the memory card, and opened the footage. The recording began normally. Children rode bicycles. Neighbors walked their dogs. Delivery trucks came and went. Then, at exactly 2:17 p.m., a familiar black SUV stopped in front of the house. Miranda Blackthorne stepped out. She looked carefully in both directions before walking toward the porch. She glanced over her shoulder again. Then she removed a small spray bottle from her handbag. She sprayed something into Atlas's water bowl. Seconds later, she replaced the bottle, smiled to herself, and walked away. The camera had captured everything. Every movement, every glance, every second. Colton replayed the footage 3 more times, hoping there was another explanation. There wasn't. The following morning, Colton contacted Officer Mason Caldwell from Animal Control instead of confronting Miranda himself. I have video evidence of someone tampering with my retired military working dog water. Officer Caldwell watched the footage without interrupting. When it ended, he leaned back in his chair. Don't post this online. I wasn't planning to. Good. He picked up the phone. We're opening an official investigation. Within hours, the original video file was secured. Digital copies were made. The water bowl was collected as evidence. Laboratory samples were sent for independent testing. Officer Caldwell also requested footage from neighborhood security cameras. What investigators discovered surprised everyone. Miranda had entered Colton's property several times over the previous month. Sometimes she stayed less than a minute, sometimes longer. Each visit happened while Colton was away. News of the investigation spread quietly through Ashwood Ridge. Neighbors who had remained silent finally began speaking. One family admitted their security camera had captured Miranda walking through private yards late at night. Another resident revealed she had received anonymous HOA warning letters after disagreeing with Miranda during board meetings. The pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. Naomi Kessler knocked on Colton's door that evening. I saw the police earlier. Colton nodded. They've opened a case. Naomi took a deep breath. I need to tell them something. What is it? About 2 weeks ago, I saw Miranda standing beside Atlas's water station. I assumed she was leaving another violation notice. Why didn't you say anything? I didn't have proof. She looked toward Atlas, now resting quietly on a blanket. I do now. Meanwhile, Miranda acted as though nothing had happened. She even called a special HOA board meeting. Standing before dozens of residents, she smiled confidently. Recent rumors regarding my conduct are completely false. She claimed someone was trying to damage her reputation. She insisted Colton was inventing stories because he disliked HOA rules. Several people believed her. Others weren't so sure. Miranda had no idea investigators were already collecting evidence from multiple sources. And she certainly didn't know that forensic analysts were examining the untouched video file frame by frame. The truth was getting closer. And this time, there would be no way to explain it away. Within a week, the investigation had grown far beyond a simple HOA dispute. Officer Mason Caldwell delivered the laboratory results to Colton and his attorney, Gavin Mercer. The chemical residue found in Atlas's water bowl matches the residue recovered from the spray bottle seen in the security footage, Caldwell explained. The evidence indicates the bowl was intentionally contaminated. Gavin nodded. That's exactly the kind of evidence a court expects. Video, physical evidence, and laboratory confirmation. Colton looked toward Atlas, now recovering well at home. I don't want revenge, he said quietly. I just don't want anyone else to go through this. When Miranda Blackthorne received notice of a lawsuit and criminal investigation, she immediately denied everything. My client never harmed that dog, her attorney argued. The video is misleading and taken out of context. But the court ordered an independent digital forensic examination. Days later, the expert witness testified under oath. The video file is original, he said. There are no signs of editing, manipulation, or missing frames. The recording is authentic. The courtroom fell silent. Next came Dr. Isabel Rowan. She explained Atlas's symptoms, the laboratory findings, and how quickly treatment had prevented far more serious injuries. In my professional opinion, she testified, The illness was consistent with exposure to a cleaning chemical that should never have been present in an animal's drinking water. Then Naomi Kessler took the witness stand. She described seeing Miranda enter Colton's yard on multiple occasions and admitted she had been afraid to speak sooner. "I regret staying silent," Naomi said. "I thought it was just another HOA dispute. I never imagined it would go this far." Finally, Gavin Mercer addressed the court. "This case is not about a neighborhood disagreement," he began. "It is about deliberate misconduct, intimidation, and the unlawful tampering with the property of a retired Marine and his service-trained military working dog." He played the hidden camera footage. No one spoke while the video rolled. The judge watched every second. Miranda walking onto the property. Miranda looking over her shoulder. Miranda spraying the contents of the bottle into Atlas's water bowl. Miranda calmly walking away. When the screen went dark, the silence in the courtroom seemed louder than any argument. Judge Eleanor Ashford adjusted her glasses before delivering her decision. "The evidence presented to this court is clear, consistent, and independently verified." She looked directly at Miranda. "No homeowner, regardless of position, is above the law." The court ruled in Colton's favor, awarding damages for veterinary expenses, property interference, and emotional distress. Miranda was also held legally accountable for the unlawful contamination of the dog's water and removed from her position as HOA president. The HOA board voted to replace its leadership and adopted new transparency rules requiring independent review of complaints and greater oversight of board actions. Several weeks later, Ashwood Ridge looked different. Children once again gathered near Colton's front yard, laughing as Atlas happily demonstrated the commands he had learned during his years of military service. Neighbors who had once avoided speaking up now greeted one another openly. Naomi smiled as she watched Atlas chase a tennis ball across the grass. "He looks like himself again," she said. Colton smiled back. He never stopped fighting. One Saturday afternoon, the local veterans organization held a community appreciation ceremony. Officer Mason Caldwell, Dr. Isabel Rowan, and Gavin Mercer stood beside Colton as Atlas received a special medal recognizing his years of faithful service. The applause lasted several minutes. Colton knelt beside Atlas and gently scratched behind his ears. "You saved me more than once," he whispered. "This time, you helped save the truth." Atlas wagged his tail and rested his head against Colton's shoulder. For the first time in months, there were no threats, no anonymous notices, and no fear waiting behind the next sunrise. Only peace. Because in the end, courage wasn't measured by rank, titles, or authority. It was measured by the willingness to stand for the truth, even when standing alone.